Hey, hey, hey! Welcome back to Oops, My English, the podcast that makes learning English easy and enjoyable. I'm Mia.
And I'm Leo. Thanks for being here. We've got a really exciting one for you today.
So, Leo, I have to tell you about something crazy that happened to me last month. I went to a rodeo.
Wait, a real rodeo? With cowboys and bulls and everything?
Yes, a real American rodeo. I was visiting my friend in Texas, and she said, "You have to experience this. It's part of the culture here." And I thought, why not? How wild could it be?
And how wild was it?
Leo, it was absolutely insane. I had never seen anything like it in my life. Cowboys riding angry bulls, horses bucking like crazy, lassos flying through the air, dust everywhere. It felt like I had stepped into a Western movie.
That sounds incredible. I've always wanted to go to a rodeo, but I've never had the chance. You have to tell me everything.
That's exactly what we're doing today. We're going to talk about our rodeo experience, learn some really useful vocabulary, and focus on some important grammar for storytelling.
Yes, today we're practicing past tenses, past simple, and past continuous, because these are essential for telling stories about things that happened. And we're also going to focus on sensory language, how to describe what you saw, heard, smelled, and felt.
If you're a B1 or B2 learner, this is exactly the kind of grammar you need to master. And what better way to learn it than through an exciting story about cowboys and bulls?
Before we jump in, quick reminder, if you enjoy learning with us, please subscribe, give this episode a thumbs up, and share it with a friend who's learning English.
Especially if they love adventure stories. This one is going to be fun.
Okay, let's start with some grammar basics. Mia, when do we use past simple versus past continuous?
Great question. We use past simple for completed actions in the past, things that happened and finished.
And past continuous?
We use past continuous for actions that were in progress at a specific moment in the past, things that were happening, not finished yet. The bull was running around the arena. The crowd was cheering. I was holding my breath.
And often we use them together, right? That's when storytelling gets really interesting.
Exactly. We use past continuous to set the scene, to describe what was happening in the background, and we use past simple for the main actions that interrupted or happened during that scene. For example, I was watching the cowboy when suddenly the bull threw him off.
So was watching is the background action in progress, and through is the sudden main action that happened.
Perfect. You'll hear lots of examples like this as I tell you about my rodeo experience. Pay attention to how I use both tenses together.
Okay, set the scene for us. What was it like when you arrived?
All right, so we arrived at the rodeo grounds around 6 in the evening. The sun was starting to set, and the sky was turning this beautiful orange color. People were walking around everywhere, families with children, groups of friends, couples holding hands. Everyone was wearing cowboy hats and boots. I felt like I was in a completely different country, not just a different state.
I love how you're describing this. The sun was setting. People were walking around. You're using past continuous to paint a picture of the atmosphere.
Exactly. And the first thing that hit me was the smell. It smelled like a mixture of hay, dust, leather, and fried food. There were food stalls everywhere, selling corn dogs, funnel cakes, and barbecue. The smoke from the grills was floating through the air.
Now you're using sensory language.
Sensory language is when you describe experiences using your 5 senses: sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. Instead of just saying the rodeo was exciting, you describe what made it exciting. What did you see? What did you hear? What could you smell? This makes your English so much more interesting and natural.
Can you give us more examples of sensory descriptions from the rodeo?
Of course, it sounded incredibly loud. There was country music blasting from the speakers, the announcer was talking nonstop through the microphone, and people were laughing and shouting all around us. It felt overwhelming at first, like all my senses were being attacked at the same time.
It sounded loud. It felt overwhelming. These structures are really useful. You can use them for any experience. It looked amazing. It tasted delicious. It smelled terrible.
Exactly, and you can add adverbs to make them stronger. It sounded incredibly loud. It looked absolutely beautiful. It smelled surprisingly good. The adverbs add intensity.
Okay, so you've arrived. You're taking in the atmosphere. What happened next?
So we found our seats in the arena. We were sitting quite close to the front, maybe 5 or 6 rows back. I could see the dirt floor of the arena clearly. It looked dry and dusty, like it hadn't rained in months. There was a big metal fence separating us from the action, which made me feel a little safer.
You needed that fence, I imagine.
Oh, definitely. While we were waiting for the show to start, I was looking around at the other spectators. Families were sharing buckets of popcorn. Children were bouncing excitedly in their seats. Old men in cowboy hats were chatting and laughing. It felt like a real community event, like everyone knew each other.
And then the rodeo started.
Yes. Suddenly, the music stopped and the announcer's voice boomed through the speakers. He welcomed everyone to the show, and the crowd erupted in cheers. I could feel the energy shift immediately. Everyone was focused now, looking toward the gates at the end of the arena.
I'm on the edge of my seat just listening to this. On the edge of your seat is a great expression, by the way. It means you're so excited or nervous that you're literally sitting forward, barely on your chair, because you can't wait to see what happens next.
That's exactly how I felt. My heart was beating fast. My palms were getting sweaty. I didn't know what to expect.
So what was the first event?
The first event was bull riding. This is the most famous rodeo event, and honestly, the most terrifying to watch. A cowboy has to sit on a massive, angry bull and try to stay on for 8 seconds while the bull does everything possible to throw him off.
Only 8 seconds? That doesn't sound very long.
That's what I thought too. But Leo, when you're watching it happen, 8 seconds feels like forever. The bull was bucking so violently. Bucking means jumping and kicking wildly, trying to throw the rider off. The cowboy was holding on with just one hand. They're not allowed to use 2 hands or they're disqualified.
Just one hand? On an angry bull? That's insane.
I know. So the gate opened and the bull exploded into the arena. I'm not exaggerating when I say exploded. 1 second the gate was closed, and the next second there was this huge animal spinning and jumping like something possessed. The cowboy was bouncing around on top, his free arm waving in the air for balance.
Notice how Mia is mixing the tenses here. The gate opened. Past simple. The action happened. The bull was spinning and jumping. Past continuous, describing the ongoing action. The cowboy was bouncing. More past continuous for the background action.
And while all this was happening, the crowd was going absolutely wild. People were standing up, shouting, waving their hats. The noise was deafening. I was gripping my friend's arm so tightly she told me later she had bruises.
Deafening. That's a great word. It means so loud that you almost can't hear anything else. Like the sound could make you deaf.
The announcer was counting down the seconds. 5, 6, 7, and just before he could say 8, the bull made this incredible twist and the cowboy flew off. He literally flew through the air and landed hard in the dirt.
Oh no. Was he okay?
This is where the rodeo clowns come in. And yes, they're actually called rodeo clowns, but their job is deadly serious. While the cowboy was lying in the dirt, the bull was still running around angrily. The rodeo clowns ran out immediately, waving their arms and making noise to distract the bull away from the fallen rider.
So they put themselves in danger to protect the cowboy?
Exactly. It looked incredibly dangerous. The clowns were running, the bull was chasing them, and other workers were helping the cowboy climb over the fence to safety. The whole thing took maybe 30 seconds, but it felt like hours. My heart was pounding the entire time.
My heart was pounding. Another great sensory description. You're describing how your body felt physically.
And when the cowboy finally got to safety and waved to the crowd to show he was okay, everyone cheered. It felt like a wave of relief washing over the entire arena.
That's such a vivid description. A wave of relief washing over the arena. You're using figurative language now, comparing the feeling to water.
Describing experiences well means going beyond just facts. Not just everyone was relieved, but showing how that relief felt physically and emotionally.
Were there other events besides bull riding?
Oh yes, lots. There was bareback bronco riding, which is similar to bull riding but on a horse. The horse was bucking just as wildly as the bull, kicking its back legs high into the air while the rider tried desperately to hold on.
Bareback means without a saddle, right?
Exactly. A saddle is the leather seat you normally put on a horse. Bareback means riding without one, which makes it much harder to stay on. The rider has nothing to grip except a handle attached to a strap around the horse.
That sounds terrifying.
It looked terrifying. I was covering my eyes half the time. My friend was at me because I kept gasping and grabbing her arm whenever something dramatic happened.
What other events did you see?
There was lasso roping, which was amazing to watch. Lassoing is when you throw a rope to catch something. In this event, a cowboy on horseback had to chase a running calf and throw a lasso around it, then jump off the horse and tie the calf's legs together. The fastest time wins.
That takes incredible skill. The timing, the accuracy, doing it all while riding a horse at full speed.
I couldn't believe how fast they were. One cowboy completed the whole thing in under 10 seconds. The calf was running, the horse was galloping, and suddenly the rope was flying through the air. It landed perfectly around the calf's neck. The crowd went crazy. And there was barrel racing, which was my favorite event, actually. This is usually done by cowgirls. They ride horses at full speed around 3 barrels arranged in a triangle pattern, then race back to the start. The fastest time wins, but if you knock over a barrel, you get a time penalty.
That sounds like it requires amazing control of the horse.
It was beautiful to watch. The horses were moving so gracefully, turning so tightly around the barrels that they were almost horizontal to the ground. The riders were leaning with them, completely in sync with their horses. It looked like a dance.
They were moving gracefully. The riders were leaning. You're still using past continuous to describe these ongoing actions.
And the sound of the horses' hooves pounding the dirt was incredible. It sounded like thunder. The whole arena was vibrating with the power of it.
It sounded like thunder. Another beautiful sensory comparison.
Okay, let's take a moment to talk about the cultural side of rodeos, because this is something I thought a lot about while I was there.
Yes, I was going to ask about that. Rodeos are a big part of American culture, especially in the South and West, right?
Definitely. Rodeo culture is deeply connected to the history of cowboys and cattle ranching. These events started as ways for cowboys to show off their skills and compete with each other. The things they do in rodeos, riding horses, roping cattle, controlling animals, these were actual job skills that cowboys needed for their work.
So it's like a celebration of that heritage and those traditions.
Exactly. And you can feel that pride when you're there. People take it very seriously. Families have been involved in rodeo for generations. I met one woman whose grandfather, father, and now her son all competed in rodeos. It's a way of life for them.
But I imagine there's also controversy around rodeos, right? Some people have concerns about the animals.
Yes, that's true. While I was watching, I couldn't help thinking about whether the animals were stressed or scared. The bulls and horses look genuinely distressed when they're bucking. Animal rights groups argue that rodeos are cruel and should be banned.
What do rodeo supporters say?
They say the animals are well cared for and that bucking is a natural behavior. They point out that the animals are valuable and owners have every reason to keep them healthy. Some also say that the animals are only performing for a few seconds at a time.
It's a complicated issue. There are strong feelings on both sides.
I tried to watch with an open mind, but I'll be honest, some moments were uncomfortable for me. When a calf was being chased and roped, it looked scared. When a bull was bucking wildly, it looked like it was fighting to escape. I'm not sure how I feel about it overall.
That's a very honest response. Sometimes experiences are complicated, and we don't have to have a clear opinion immediately.
Exactly. I'm glad I went because it was a unique cultural experience. I learned a lot and I saw things I'd never seen before. But I also have questions that don't have easy answers.
That's a mature way to think about it. Okay, let's do a grammar recap before we move to vocabulary.
Good idea. So, for storytelling, we use past simple for main actions that happened and finished. The gate opened, the cowboy fell, the crowd cheered.
And we use past continuous for background actions that were in progress. The sun was setting. People were cheering. The bull was running around.
Often we combine them. Past continuous sets the scene, and past simple interrupts with the main action. I was watching the rider when suddenly the bull threw him off. While we were waiting, the music started. And for sensory language, we use structures like, it looked incredible, it sounded like thunder, it smelled like hay and dust, it felt overwhelming, it tasted amazing.
You can add adverbs for intensity. It looked absolutely terrifying. It sounded incredibly loud. It smelled surprisingly good.
These structures help you describe experiences vividly, not just state facts. They make your English more interesting and engaging.
Perfect. Now let's go through our vocabulary for today.
Let's do it.
First, rodeo. A rodeo is a competition or exhibition where cowboys and cowgirls show their skills in events like bull riding, horse riding, and roping. We went to a rodeo in Texas. Rodeos are popular in the American West.
Next, bucking. Bucking is when an animal jumps and kicks wildly to throw off a rider. The bull was bucking so violently the cowboy couldn't hold on. The horse started bucking as soon as the gate opened.
Arena. The arena is the enclosed area where the action takes place, surrounded by seating for spectators. The arena was filled with dust. We had great seats close to the arena.
Lasso, also called a lariat. This is a rope with a loop at the end used for catching animals. The cowboy threw the lasso around the calf's neck. Learning to use a lasso takes years of practice.
To lasso means to catch something with a lasso. He lassoed the calf in under 5 seconds. Can you lasso that runaway horse?
Cowboy and cowgirl. These are the riders and performers in a rodeo, traditionally people who work with cattle on ranches. The cowboy held on with just one hand. The cowgirl was the fastest in barrel racing.
Saddle. A saddle is the leather seat placed on a horse for riding. She climbed into the saddle and grabbed the reins. Bareback riding means riding without a saddle.
Bareback. This means riding a horse without a saddle, which is much more difficult. Bareback bronco riding is one of the hardest rodeo events. He prefers riding bareback because he feels more connected to the horse.
Rodeo clown. This is a person who distracts bulls to protect fallen riders. Despite the funny name, it's a dangerous and important job. The rodeo clowns save the cowboy's life. Rodeo clowns have to be incredibly brave.
To hold on. This means to grip tightly and not let go. He was holding on for dear life. Hold on tight. This is going to be bumpy.
To throw off. This means to make someone fall off by moving violently. The bull threw him off after 6 seconds. The horse was trying to throw off its rider.
On the edge of your seat. This expression means being very excited, nervous, or anxious while watching something. The whole audience was on the edge of their seats. That movie kept me on the edge of my seat.
Adrenaline rush. This is a sudden feeling of excitement and energy, often from doing something thrilling or dangerous. Watching the bull riding gave me an adrenaline rush. Skydivers love the adrenaline rush of jumping from a plane.
Deafening. This means extremely loud, so loud it could almost make you deaf. The cheering was deafening. There was a deafening roar when the winner was announced.
To kick up dust. This means to make dust fly into the air, usually by running or moving fast. The horses were kicking up dust as they raced around the barrels. The bull was kicking up dust all over the arena.
Spectator. A spectator is someone who watches an event, a member of the audience. The spectators cheered wildly. There were thousands of spectators at the rodeo.
That's a lot of great vocabulary. Pick a few words you like and try to use them this week.
Okay, listeners, here's your question for today. Have you ever experienced something completely outside your own culture? Something that surprised you, excited you, or maybe even made you uncomfortable? It could be a rodeo, a festival, a ceremony, anything.
Write in the comments and tell us about it. Try to use past simple and past continuous in your answer. For example, I was visiting Japan when I saw a traditional tea ceremony. It looked so peaceful and elegant.
And try to include some sensory language. What did it look like? What did it sound like? How did it make you feel? We want to experience it with you.
If this episode helped you with your English, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who enjoys adventure stories.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us. You didn't waste it. You invested it in yourself.
We're proud of you for being here and learning with us.
This was Oops My English with Mia and Leo.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep practicing, and maybe go see a rodeo someday.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Take care. See you in the next episode.